Hi everyone, and welcome back to Creative Chelsea. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make these cards, you can visit my online store and the link is in the description box below. When you purchase Stampin' Up! Products through me, you can earn free products. Check out my current Customer Appreciation Program and which products you will earn on my blog, and the link is listed below in the description. During July 2020, when you make a qualifying purchase, you can receive these products for free in August. When you purchase $50, you will receive the Woven Threads Sequin Assortment for free from me as a thank you gift. When you spend $100, you will receive this beautiful Tricolor Ribbon and the Woven Threads Sequin Assortment. And when you purchase $150 or more, you will receive the Hippo Happiness stamp set along with the Tricolor Ribbon and the Woven Threads Sequin Assortments. And so I wanted to showcase these products today by creating a 2-for-1 shaker card. So we're going to be first creating this fun shaker card, and we're using those woven thread sequins inside, and I love how they match really well with these 3 colors. We've also used that beautiful tricolor ribbon along with the fun Hippo Happiness stamp set. And then once we're done with that, we're going to be using those leftover pieces to create this really fun card. This is not a shaker card, but it does use those woven threads, sequins, and then we are using that tricolor ribbon again and this really fun stamp set. So to begin this shaker card, I'm going to share with you some fun blending tips that I like to use when blending colors together using sponge daubers. And I'm also going to be sharing with you some tips on how to make shaker cards a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and start. You're going to need 2 pieces of Whisper White Cardstock. This first piece is a little bit smaller than the second, and that's because it's going to fit over that cardstock, and we just want a small border. So this first piece is 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, and then the larger piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to be creating the same blending on both, and we're going to use that smaller piece for our front where our windows will be cut, and then the larger piece will be behind. And we want it to kind of have a seamless feeling. Let's go ahead and start on the small piece. I've got 3 sponge daubers and they all coordinate with the colors, and we're using Pretty Peacock, Gorgeous Grape, and Rococo Rose. So let's go ahead and begin with the Gorgeous Grape. So these sponge daubers come without any color on them. And then once I've started using that particular color, I can either label it so I know that's the color of ink, or just always use that for a purple ink. So what I like to do is ink it up by tapping it on my ink pad, and then I want to grab a clear block, and I'm just going to blend that color out on the clear block, and you're not going to see that color. And what I think this does is that it just kind of blends the color so it's nice and even on the sponge dauber, so that I'm not getting one area that has more ink than another. Then you have a scrap piece of paper underneath where you're working, and then you can just dab that to kind of get an idea of how dark your ink is. This color is going to go right in the center of our cardstock, and so I'm just always starting with very light pressure, and then I just kind of add pressure as that color is kind of used up and comes off the sponge dauber. So you can see that we've got a darker color here and a lighter color there, and so I'm just going to kind of come back to that lighter color and add a little bit more pressure to get more ink on my cardstock. Now, if I want to go back and re-ink that, I can at any time, and then just go back to my clear block and blend that color a little bit, check how dark it is, and then I can go ahead and come back to blending. You can see that one had a lot more ink than the first one, and so I'm using very, very light pressure when blending this color. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stop there for now. I can always do more later. Let's go to our larger piece of cardstock, get a little more ink, and blend this now. For the majority, I like to use a swirling circle motion, but sometimes I find that using a vertical or horizontal motion is helpful as well. So go ahead and change up how you're applying your ink to your cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there for now with the gorgeous grape color. Let's go ahead and grab the pretty peacock next. And we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to clean my block so that I don't transfer color. And then I'm going to grab the pretty peacock sponge dauber, pick up some color from my ink pad, blend it out a little bit, test it, and then add it to my cardstock. Okay, so you can see that those colors are starting to blend together. And we're starting to get a really pretty color here in the middle. And this is when I can come back and use that gorgeous grape sponge dauber and do a little more blending. I think I'm going to do that after I finish the third color. And let's go ahead and grab the Rococo Rose next. And just do the same thing. Oh, clean your clear block. Blend it out just a little bit and then apply it to your cardstock. And there's the Rococo Rose. Right now you can kind of see those three colors and they're a little bit more separate. So we're going to go back with this gorgeous grape color, and I'm just going to lightly blend into that other color to kind of create a more seamless look. So if I need to get some more color, go ahead and just open up that gorgeous grape, and you can flip that block over a little bit, pick up some color and make sure to blend it, and then just make sure it's not too dark, because you really just want a very light color so that these two colors kind of start blending together. And you can do the same thing up here with the pretty peacock. You're just kind of working on blending those two colors so that they're a little more seamless. And you can just grab some more of the other colors. Let's flip that again and blend those into that purple too. And this sometimes will take a little bit of time, so just have some patience and just enjoy making some really beautiful blended colors. Okay, so I'm really good with that. I think we've got some nice blends happening between those three colors. So I'm going to go back to the smaller piece and just kind of work on this a little bit more. I'm going to grab that purple, gorgeous grape, and I'm going to start here in the middle where it's a little lighter, add some more of that color, and then just bring it into those other two colors, just like I did with the first one. Nice and blended. Keep your pressure really light to start with, and then you can add more pressure as you want to build up that color. Okay, I'm going to grab the Rococo Rose, get some color on it, and blend that in there too. Okay, and then last, I'd like to get the pretty peacock, and I'm going to need just a little more ink. So I'm going to clean off that clear block again, pick up some ink on there, and then add that into that purple area there so that it gets nice and blended. So we get some pretty peacock into that gorgeous grape, and then blend that color down. Okay, like that. Okay, so once you have a blend that you like, we're going to do a fun technique where we pick up the color with a little bit of water. So go ahead and place your two pieces on your scrap paper, and you're going to use your water painter or a paintbrush and some water, and you're going to splatter water onto your blends, and then use a paper towel, and you're going to pick up that water, and it's going to create this fun kind of splatter water galaxy looking technique. And you can do it to both, or you can just do it to the top. For this particular card, I just did it to the top and left the back undone, but I think I want to try and see what it looks like with a little bit of water in the back as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do it to both. And you do want some larger drops of water, so you can go ahead and squeeze while you are splattering your water. Okay, and then once you've got the water on there, go ahead and use that tissue to pick up the water, and you can see how it creates this really fun, magical galaxy kind of look. You can always go and add a little bit more too if you want. And I'm just kind of using, maybe I'm not really pressing this time, I'm just adding some little splatters around as well, just to give it a little more of that look. Okay, so I'm now going to set these off to the side and let them dry. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to stamp our unicorns, and I'm just going to do both so that I have them to create the card. And this stamp set is really fun. It has some really cute little critters. We've got a unicorn, and it could also be a horse. You just either add the cone for the unicorn or keep it off for a horse. We've got a hippo, a little lamb, and then this cute butterfly. And then we have some really fun little accent pieces like flowers and a balloon, a little swirly for the butterfly, and these cute stars as well. So let's go ahead and stamp our unicorn. This is a two-step stamp, which means that you have two stamps to create one image. And so I will show you how to do that. And then we also want the little face. And so the unicorn face is this one with the two eyes, and then it has two noses, and then this cute little mouth. And then this little guy is the face for the lamb, and then this one is the one for the hippo. So they're super cute and nice and detailed. And so here is that face for the unicorn. And I'm going to add that to another block. And let's go ahead and do our stamping. And what I've got for the unicorn is just some scrap Whisper White paper. And what I've found is that it's actually easier to do the top, which is this darker area of the unicorn, before doing the inside part. And so I'm going to coordinate the unicorn with my blend. And so I'm going to use the Rococo Rose. And I'm going to start by inking up that top or half of the unicorn. And so I'm going to do 2 of these. Nice, good pressure. And I'm going to give them some space between so that I can make sure I have room for the tail as well as to cut it out. So then for the full body of the unicorn, I'm going to ink it up, get a good nice ink. I'm going to stamp it off so that I can get a lighter color. And then I'm going to line it up over that first part and then stamp it down. And you can see that it creates a nice image, and it's much easier to line up than for me. It was harder to do it the other way around. So let's go ahead and do it again. So stamp off and then stamp on. Okay, so there's that. So now we can add the face, and I'm going to use Memento black ink for that. And what I'm looking for is I'm trying to line up the little noses with the 2 noses here. So you're just lining those up, and don't stress about it because it will turn out really good. And so we've got those 2 cute little unicorns. And then for the actual unicorn horn, I'm going to cut out with the die cut out of some silver foil paper. And the dies are called Hippo and Friends. And these dies are really fun. Not only do they have the coordinating dies for the images, and you can see they've got butterflies and the balloon and the flowers, but they have these really great label shapes. And so this is the label that we're going to be using for our greeting. And then we're also using that label for our windows. It's the second to the smallest size that we're using for our window. So we're going to grab both of those, as well as my unicorn die cut and the tiny little unicorn horn die cut. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my unicorn with the die and use a little bit of tape to hold it in place. And I'm also going to cut out 2 labels with the smallest of those shapes, just with another piece of Whisper White Cardstock. And then we will use this in a minute for our windows. So I'm going to take this to my die cutting machine and be right back. Okay, so I've cut those things out, and I'm going to put those off to the side. Next, I'm going to take the smaller of the 2, and I'm going to cut out this window. We're going to start with the center. And if you have a ruler, you can measure it, or you can just eyeball it. And you just want it to be right there in the center. And then take some washi tape and just apply it so that it doesn't move. And then run it through your die cutting machine. And then we're going to go ahead and cut 2 more. All right, so now I've cut that one. So I'm just going to line up, and I want the edge to be a little bit on the, I want it to be close to that stitched edge right here along the edge. And I want to give it some extra space here because this is where we're going to need to place our foam strip so that we can hold those sequins in. So don't skimp on this space here. You need a pretty good opening. So go ahead and tape that down. Make sure it's all lined up and even, and you can see how close I am to that edge. So let's go ahead and run that through again. And then we'll just repeat that on this side. Again, nice and close to that edge, and give it some good space here on the right, and then run it through one last time. Okay, so now we are ready to start putting our card together a little bit. So hold these off to the side. They're going to be for this other card. But for our shaker card, you're going to next need your window sheet. And this window sheet's been cut to 2.5 by 5 inches, which is just a little bit bigger than the cutout windows of our paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this window sheet to the back of our cardstock, and I'm going to add it with some glue dots, and I'm going to place those glue dots here in the larger areas. And I have this sheet of glue dots, and this sheet is probably from an older paper pumpkin kit, and so I'm just going to be using those up, and I'm going to use the tip side of my pickup tool, and I'm just going to slide that under a glue dot and then apply it to those areas. And then add that window sheet over those windows we've cut out. Just like that. So the next thing we need to do is start to add things to our card base. And so I've got a card base that is Gorgeous Grape, and it's just your regular size, which is 5.5 by 8.5 and scored at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this background to the card base. I'm just going to use some snail and make sure it's going the right direction, which has the Rococo Rose on the top. And then I'm going to open that up, and with a bone folder, I'm going to rub back and forth with some pressure just to make sure everything is adhered nicely. Just like that. Next, I'm going to add this on top, and I am going to place it where I want it to be, and then I'm going to add some washi tape to create a hinge. So the reason I like to use washi tape is because it's removable. If you have another type of removable tape, you can use that as well. And I just want to place 2 pretty big strips near the top, and that's just going to create this hinge so that I know that it's exactly where I want it to be. Now I'm just going to kind of apply a little pressure there so it doesn't lift off there. So you can see that that hinge is nicely added, and it's centered where I want the shaker to be. The next step is to take a dryer sheet, and it can be new, or it should not be like used because you want some of that anti-static in there. But I use a dryer sheet when I am doing my heat embossing, and so I'm just using that same one that I've used a couple times, and I'm just adding that to my cardstock, and that's just going to remove some of that static so that the sequins can move back and forth nicely. The next step is to use the foam adhesive strips. And so these are just a really great product if you like to make shaker cards. They make adding the adhesive really easy since they come in these nice thin strips. You're just going to go ahead and add one to each edge of our rectangle and use a pair of scissors to cut. Whenever you have a seam, you just want to make sure that things are nice and tight so that you won't lose any sequins when they are moving around. And the top of my foam strip on that one already came off, but this one still has its paper backing. So when you're all done, to add the sequins and then remove the paper backing. And the reason for that is just so that you don't accidentally get any sequins that get stuck to your adhesive. So now we have an enclosed area for our sequins to move around in. And I do want to support these four corners. And so I'm just going to take that leftover piece and just snip it into four small areas. Snip it into four small pieces and add those to the corners of each one. And that's just going to give a little extra support for those areas. And then if you have any extra, you can just place that back. So let's go ahead and remove the paper backing. Okay. So you can see now how that hinge can be really helpful because we can add these together without having any problem. So we're going to go ahead and grab those sequins, and remember you can get these for free with a $50 order in July. So when you order $50 in July, you will receive these from me as a thank you for free. And you're just going to take a couple. So a nice big pinch. If you want a little bit more, you can add a little bit more. It's kind of fun to have a lot of sequins in there. And then you can just go ahead and close this up and give it some good pressure to make sure everything is nicely adhered. And then you can carefully remove that washi tape. Just be really careful. Even though it's removable, it will sometimes still tear. You can add it to your clothes before placing it on the cardstock to add a little lint to it so that it's not quite as sticky if that's something you like to do. So there we've got our sequins in our shaker card. So now we can just dress it up with a little bit of some fun images like the unicorn. So let's go ahead and grab that. So we'll grab one of our unicorns, we'll grab one of our labels, and we can add our greeting. So I really liked this one, when in doubt, be a unicorn. Let's go ahead and I'm going to stamp that in Pretty Peacock. Make sure you ink it up really nicely and center it on that label, and then good pressure. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and do the second one since it's exactly the same. And center and stamp. Okay, so a couple little fun things for this card. One of them is the Wink of Stella. So I really love using the Wink of Stella on projects. It just adds a little fun touch. You can kind of see a little bit of that glitter that's on the unicorn. So we're just going to go ahead and add that all over the unicorn. You want to give the ink some time to dry before adding this because you can blend ink with the Wink of Stella. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to this one for our other card. And you don't need it to be really wet. You're just really applying a nice little layer of some little bit of glitter to that image. So the next thing we're going to use is this Tricolor Ribbon. And again, you can get this for free with a $100 order in July. Go ahead and measure 6 inches. Get some nice scissors and cut at an angle. And then you're going to bring those 2 angles together and you're going to add your greeting over that ribbon. So just place some snail or other adhesive along the back and go ahead and add that. You just want a little bit peeking out on the right side and then the rest there on the left. And I just added this with some more adhesive. I don't want it to be too thick of a card, and so we are not adding more dimensionals. I'm just going to place it right here in the middle of this first window, like that. And then we're going to add our cute unicorn right here to the bottom, just like he's kind of leaping over all this beautiful glitter and galaxy kind of feeling. Place some glue on the back, and there we go. The last thing we need to add is his little unicorn horn, and I'm going to do that very last because it is such a small little piece. So let's go ahead and work on card number 2. And this card should come together pretty quickly since everything is already done. We can just add those leftover pieces to create this second really cute card. So for this card, we need a piece that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. You're also going to want a piece of Whisper White Cardstock for your card base. And I like to use the thick Whisper White Cardstock. And this is just cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using Pretty Peacock and then these cute little stars. And I'm going to create a path of stars from the top left corner to the bottom right corner. And just kind of randomly stamp these. I'm using a bigger block than I should be, and so I'm getting some ink on it. So I just am trying to be really careful that I don't get that ink on my cardstock. Okay, so I'm just kind of stopping there for now, and then I'm going to do some in this bottom right area. Just kind of randomly stamp it however you want it to look. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there as well, since the centerpiece will be hidden. I'm going to go ahead and put this ink away. So the next thing I have is a strip that's 1/2 inch by 5 inches, and it's off of a silver foil sheet. And this is going to help my pieces stay together and add just a little extra bling. So I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of each one of these. And then I'm going to apply these in the center of this strip. And I'm just going to take a quick look. And I think I want this one without any big pieces or splatter marks to be in the center. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up. So this is 5 inches. So I'm going to go 2 1/2 inches on one side. So that would be right here. And then I'm going to do 2 1/2 inches on this side. And then this is just going to go right in the center. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Something like that. And then I'm going to add this second one, and I'm going to rotate it so that the pink is on the top and it's opposite of the middle one, because the middle one has the pink on the bottom. If by chance you had placed the blue on the bottom, then just rotate it so that, you know, they're opposite. And I think that just adds a really nice visual motion to the card. So go ahead and remove that. And now you can see that all three pieces are acting as one piece. And so we're going to now add this to the center of our card with some dimensionals. And then go ahead and place this in the center of your card. And you can kind of just eyeball it. There we go. So something like that. So let's go ahead and add this to our card base. So I've got my card base folded. I'm going to use a bone folder and some snail. Place that on the front of your card base. There should be just a little gap around. And then open that up, and you can use your snail or your bone folder to adhere that glue. So that part's done. And you can see that I originally put that silver strip down lower, but I thought I'd try it in the center for this card. And so you can really choose whichever one you want to do. So let's go ahead and add the embellishments to this card. So we again need 6 inches of this tricolor ribbon. So that's going to be right about here. And I am using some nice scissors to cut it. I'm going to add it to the back of my greeting with a little bit of adhesive. And fold it in half. And what I'm looking for is that the cut lines create kind of like a banner. So they're going away. And then I'm going to add it just like before to the edge, with about 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch showing on the right side, and then spreading out on the left. And I'm going to just place it near the base with some adhesive. And I want it to come off a little bit, not past the silver, but just kind of in the center of that first area. I am going to add this cute little unicorn with some dimensionals, and you can take one and cut it in half, and then it will kind of help, it will be the right size. And this time, this cute little guy is going to be kind of moving up and out of the card a little bit. So just kind of place him so he's kind of jumping up. And now we're going to add the little unicorn horn to both cards. So you can see that they have this little silver unicorn horn, and what I've got is just some silver foil scrap paper, and I'm just going to run this through my die cutting machine 2 times to give me 2 unicorn horns. So I have them both over here on the side, and they're very tiny, so I don't want to kind of bump them. I'm going to take a glue dot, and I'm actually going to remove the paper, and I'm kind of just rolling it up on itself on the tip of my pickup tool. And then I'm going to place that little rolled up glue dot at where I want the base of the cone to be. So it's right here is where the glue dot is. And then I'm going to use the sticky side, and I'm going to pick up one of the cone horns, and place it right over that glue dot. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same for this one here. I'm going to get a glue dot And I'm going to roll it off of the paper. So I'm just rolling. And so I've got this glue here. And then I'm going to just pull it off the tip and then apply it to right where I want that horn to be. And this one I'm going to actually bring the horn down a little bit more into the head of the unicorn so that it has a little more paper to stick to. And then I'm just going to give that some good pressure, make sure everything is sticking really well, and then that horn is applied. So the last thing we need to do for this card is add some of these woven sequins to our little stars. So I'm just going to use those glue dots again, and I'm just going to place them kind of in some of these areas where I didn't stamp any stars. I'm kind of looking for maybe 3 to 5 sequins. And it's okay if some of them are tucked underneath, like that one, because we want it to feel like it goes under the middle element. So I'm going to apply them to both corners. Go ahead and remove the paper. And then the very last thing is just to pick out some sequins to add to these areas. And you can use any of the sequins. There's a bunch of different colors. Some coordinate a little bit better than others. You can use either size too. There's some big ones and some little ones. I think I'm going to kind of mainly stick with the big and medium and kind of stay away from the teeny tiny size. So here's a medium blue one. And then there's some of that pretty pink in there as well. And that one doesn't really quite match. There is a terracotta tile color in here, and so sometimes I think it looks okay when they're all together, but I think I want to stick with kind of the pinks and purples and blues for this card. Okay, so that card is all done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day. Bye.